Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This being a show where I talk about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of Arrow. So a lot of stuff went down in this episode. A lot of, kind of setting up, Prometheus is kind of finally making his move against Oliver, which there's a lot of stuff going on there, then the stuff with the team. First of all, let's talk about Prometheus. The fact of the matter is, he's like, hey, I'm killing all these people, which I felt bad for that first mom. He threw it she's just like, wait, please don't hurt me. I have two children. And he just and he throws that star in her neck and just killed her just all. I was like, that's just brutal. You did that relentlessly. And then she wasn't the only one, just killed a lot of people. I think the main total was like 4 people he had killed in that short span of time and whatever. But you end up like running their names through a system. Basically, Curtis and Felicity were working on it, and they ended up finding out it's like, oh, there's some hidden message between there. It's like once you kind of align their names, it's kind of like, it lists off a whole bunch of different names, and all these names match names from Oliver's list. And I was like, dude, that's crazy. From obviously the biggest reason being like the fact of the matter is, only a select few people even know about Oliver's list. Felicity and Diggle are one. I don't even think Thea knows about that. Maybe she does, maybe she doesn't. I mean, maybe that's something he eventually told her, but I don't remember him ever really bringing it out to her. Like, he obviously became a vigilante and that stuff to help, save the city, but it's like whether, that he became, like, that he actually had a list of the people he was going after. I don't know if he actually told her or not. Maybe he did and I'm just not remembering it, but like, there's very few people who know about that list. So for him to know about that list says a lot. Because I've thrown it out there last episode. It's like, I had a feeling, I was wondering if Prometheus actually knew about Oliver before Tobias said anything. It's like, because I was halfway, like I said, last week I was saying, like, I halfway expected him to be like, oh yeah, I already knew about Oliver. Thanks for kind of already telling me something I already know, and then killed him. But he was like, thanks, and then just killed him anyway. So I'm like, maybe he really didn't know, because the list shows that he knows Oliver. So maybe he didn't. I don't. No, because now I'm sitting here thinking about it. It's like, obviously he had to have known Oliver was the Green Arrow, because the fact of the matter is he knows about the list, and he knows that a vigilante at first was killing off people from that list, and knows that list is connected to Oliver in that same vein. So it's like, obviously, the person had to have known all of it. Because before I was thinking, like, at the very least, he had to have known who Oliver was. But it's like, to know Oliver has this list, means you already put it together that the person, all those people that died, like, back in season 1, the vigilante killed, would mean that the vigilante was, that it's all connected, So that kind of, now I'm sitting here thinking about it, it's like, so obviously Prometheus did already know. I don't know. It's kind of, like I said, it's kind of hard to tell. So not unless all this was figured out after Tobias, it's like, oh yeah, it's Oliver Queen, so maybe Prometheus did some homework or something else to it. I don't know. Obviously, there's the Prometheus stuff that came up in the episode, but I'll kind of get to that later on. But that's what this was all about. Just kind of like, because that list has not been brought up since season 1, which makes sense. I mean, it's just like, with everything going on, because it's like, Tommy is what kind of made him deter away from the list. Because it's like he wanted to become, after Tommy died, Oliver wanted to become a better person, someone, a hero that his best friend could be proud of, someone who could save the city and not just, kill his way to saving the city, find a better way. That's why Oliver stopped killing, was because of Tommy. So, because I personally haven't even thought about that list in years. It's kind of interesting bringing that story element back like that, because it's like, because like I said, it makes sense story-wise why the list would never come up again. But the fact of the matter is, does that mean there are people, how many people on that list did he not get to? Or did he get to everyone on the list? I actually don't remember if he actually killed everyone on that list or not. It's been like, 4 years now. So it's kind of like, it's understandable I forget stuff, especially because it's been that long since I've seen the first season and everything. But I'm trying to remember, did he actually kill everyone on that list or not? Or were their names still up there, not connected or not? Because they had that list of potential victims and everything like that. It was names, because it were names from the list and everything like that. It's like, oh, there's lawyers and bankers and other people on this list. So I'm thinking maybe he didn't actually get to everyone, but nevertheless, the really interesting thing about it was because I didn't even think about it until the commercial, and it's like the moment he brought out the list, I was like, oh, he's got to tell the rest of the team about the list. But during the commercial break, I started thinking about it even more. I was like, wait a minute, this, I forgot, they don't know about Oliver being, you know, the vigilante slash Arrow from before, because, you know, the whole Star City believes that like the Green Arrow is a different person because everyone thinks Roy, who everyone believes to be the vigilante slash Arrow, died. So it's like, oh yeah, this new person kind of took out that mantle, because even Curtis asked, was like, oh, but I thought it was a different person under the hood. And she's like, Felicity was like, nope, all of it was Oliver. And so he had to explain that. I was like, dude, that's gonna be crazy explaining that too. And the team did not take it well, which is understandable. They have the right to be. It's like, you're a serial killer, dude, because let's not forget, back then Oliver was dropping bodies left and right. Diggle even said it best. It's like, back then you killed people first, ask questions later. So it's understandable why the team would be a little hesitant, because when you look at the grand scheme, it's kind of, when you look at their perspective and you look at Diggle's perspective, it's like you had to take out Dark. There was no ifs, ands, or buts about it. It's like Dark, he's too much of a threat to leave, like kind of out in the open, because it's like, even if you had arrested him, who's to say he wouldn't break out of prison again and kill even more people, try the whole Genesis project again to find some way to end the world. He was literally going to end the world, destroy the world, kind of kill almost all life on the planet. So it's kind of like, hey, with a madman like that, you have to stop him. Even going as far as killing some of Church's men, that's kind of understandable. I mean, granted, Theo brought it up, what was it, like in the first or second episode, being like, yo, I'm not down with this killing, like, or killing people again. So, you know, because even Oliver calls himself out for it. He's like, since he killed Dark, he's been killing people again. And, you know, he regrets that. He wants to be a better hero. I mean, especially when it comes to the team and everything. Because it's like, because he looks at Artemis or Evelyn, and it's like, she talks about the fact that I'm still pissed at you about the whole situation with my family. It took me a while to kind of get over that. I mean, I'm not still 100% over it. I still blame you to a certain degree, but it's like, I put that aside to work with you because I thought it was saving the city. But now I find out you're a serial killer too. You're just like killing people just for the hell of it. I mean, granted, yes, you had your own reasons and everything, but it's also because he talked her out of revenge. And it's like, you talked about me getting revenge and you went and just killed a whole bunch of people out of a need for your revenge, which is like, well, that's why Oliver said what he said, because he knew what down that path of revenge would do. You know, it's like, he didn't want you to end up the way he did. He's kind of, you know, he's trying to say, like, don't end up like me. I mean, I love even Wild Dog commented on it. It's like, yo, you talked about me being wild, but you're a fucking bloody murderer, dude. Come on. You know, because, I mean, I feel like, because everyone has their own reaction to it. I don't think Curtis took it the best out of everyone, because later on he was making jokes. They're like, oh, you actually came back. I know you don't want to hang around. It's like, yeah, we had to, because I didn't know if you were going to kill us or not. Ha ha ha. Oh, too soon? Okay, sorry. So that's what you gotta love about Curtis. But nevertheless, like I said, it's understandable, but it's like, you know, Diggle put it in perspective for him. It's like, you're a very different person than you were back then. Back then, like I said, drop bodies left and right, ask questions later. But now, you know, you're a very different person. You've progressed, you know, you've changed, you know, a lot of it, you know, thanks to Tommy back in season 1. It's like, you know, season 2 on, he changed. And so, you know, trying to become that hero again, I feel like we're going to see that transition a little bit more of like, because Oliver kind of fell back into his old habits ever since he killed Dark, because it's just like, because sadly for Oliver, that almost became like killing someone just became second nature after everything that he went through in Leanne. Well, just everything on that 5-year thing. It's kind of like you're shaped by your experience. So you can't really blame Oliver for being the way he is. It's because when you grow up, you've been in the different deadly situations he's been in, trained the way he has, fighting to survive all that time. It's like, obviously you're going to, you know, kind of retain a lot of that. So it's like, I think this season is a big part of him facing that. You know, obviously we can see it's him facing his past, because, you know, he knew the team wasn't going to take it very lightly when he told them the truth, but he didn't think it was going to like be, you know, this much of a fallout. You know, he didn't think, you know, it's just his past came back to haunt him. It's just kind of like, you know, he tried to move on, become a better person and everything. I mean, the fact is you can't escape your past. Your past is your past. But at the very least, you know, his past can serve as like an example of like, hey, never be that person again. And I guess that's going to be I'm just going to be interesting to see like how far Oliver will take it this season. Because it's like this season is him battling 3 different versions of himself now. Originally, it was bouncing, trying to reclaim his identity as Oliver Queen. Because for him, Oliver Queen has always been more of the harder aspect of it. It's like being the vigilante, being the Arrow, Green Arrow. That's simple to him because that's who he became on Lian through his 5 years. So that's become who he is. Being the person he was or should or can be as Oliver Queen, that's a lot harder. Because in the situation, it's one of those situations where it's like, with superheroes are being like, sometimes who you like, the hero aspect of you, it's actually a lot easier to be, whereas your real, like the person you're supposed to be in Oliver's case, being Oliver Queen is actually the disguise, and it's a lot harder. Because remember, at the beginning of the season, being mayor was only a disguise for him, but now as it's progressed, he's kind of like, no, I'm gonna do a good job. Being mayor is just as important as being the Green Arrow, so. But now he has to balance that with the fact of like, hey, I can't be the person I was in the past anymore. So, I mean, granted, the team they've seemed to kind of be okay with it. But I mean, it's like, because they realize it's like they've got work ahead of them. They still got to, it's like, because I think they can recognize the fact is Oliver isn't necessarily the same person that he was. I mean, because like legitimately after season 1, he stopped dropping bodies unless he absolutely had to. Because like I said, Diggle said it best, he is changing. And it's like, Oliver kind of feels like he isn't because he feels like he's stuck. I guess like, maybe he feels like he's kind of even like reverting back into that person he was back in season 1. So, and kind of something to kind of put in perspective for you also. Well, I mean, I kind of didn't talk about it, but the fact of the matter is Oliver's secrets. That's another thing the team had a problem with. It's like, first of all, it's like, you're not telling us everything. You kind of dropped this bomb on us. I mean, plus, the fact of the matter is they didn't even know about Prometheus until afterwards. It's like you and Diggle have known about this for a little while, yet you haven't told us. Felicity was kind of like, yo, tell the team. But they were like, no. Diggle was like, yo, they're inexperienced. Plus the whole situation with Wild Dog giving up Oliver's identity to Church. But Felicity's like, yo, he was tortured. Which Oliver was like, yeah, that's the reason why I'm doing this. Because, yes, for one, Oliver has trouble trusting people, letting stuff secrets out, not just about himself but everything. But in this case, it's kind of like, well, he was trying to protect them because he didn't want another situation like Wild Dog. He's very protective of the people that matter to him, and this team matters to him. They are like a second family to him. So I don't really want to put second, just a family, because I don't want to make it seem like, oh, another family is more important. And it's like, they're all very important to him. He wants to protect them. It's his job to protect them and look out for them, while they help him kind of save the city and everything. So he doesn't want a situation with Wild Dog to happen again, where he ends up, where someone he's working with gets caught up in that situation. Because he understands, like, yo, like, Wild Dog wasn't trained for torture. Like I brought up last episode, it's like, yo, Wild Dog, can take some punches, but torture is very different. It's like Oliver and Diggle, yeah, they're kind of trained. They know how to handle torture, but it's like, yo, they're not used to that type of situation. So they even referenced it. They were like, yo, like, what other kind of stuff are we going to find out about his past? And it's like, yeah, there's a lot to Oliver's past that he has not told. But it's like, because even Felicity herself says it. It's like, yeah, she knows that best about Oliver. The fact is, like, kind of being burned on the fact is there's so many secrets that Oliver keeps. She's like, I'm kind of like, an expert in that field. So, but I think it speaks volume. The fact is that you have Felicity and Diggle still following him with everything said and done, considering who he was back in season 1. Considering the fact that his secrets and everything. I mean, especially Felicity, considering their whole situation, lying about having a son and everything, that really speaks volumes to say, like, hey, even when all that's said and done, they still follow him because they still believe in Oliver. So I think that kind of speaks volumes. It's like, hey, that's kind of, you get what I mean. That when it's all said and done, they still believe in the path that he's going. Like I said, he isn't the same person and everything. But also, kind of trailing back to it a little bit, like I mentioned, the fact of the matter is, like, Oliver wasn't that much to opening up to them, but he was getting closer. He was being a little more relaxed and everything. He was sharing a lot more with the team. But then all of a sudden, Diggle shows up again and they kind of shut him out. It's kind of like, yo, Team OG Arrow kind of takes precedence over Team New Kids, Team Arrow. So I thought that was kind of interesting. Another thing in this episode, since we're talking about the past, first I'm going to talk about his past in this episode. Basically, Anatoly was teaching her how to build bombs. That was kind of interesting. And I love how Anatoly's joking about it too. Like, it's like, oh yeah, don't worry, my first bomb, I almost blew up a finger and everything. So it's like, okay. Love how you can joke about that, Anatoly. But then they end up getting visited. Well, after being attacked, and Oliver ends up finding out, it's like, well, what's up with this? He's like, okay, so we're basically at war with Constantine, the guy you came here to kill. Is like, why didn't you tell me? You know that's the reason why I'm here. It's like, that's the whole reason why we kind of brought you into the Bratva. It's like, you wouldn't have been able to do anything on your own, but it's like, we're kind of at war with him. So I guess in Anatoly's mind, it's kind of like two birds with one stone. Is like, you join us, you kind of get your revenge, plus we get to kill him. So it kind of balances itself out. I wonder obviously Constantine's a bad dude, so I'm wondering, is that why they're at war with him? It's because it's just kind of like, the Bratva kind of dishes out justice and whatnot. So the whole point was to kind of have Oliver return, like kind of go back to his original identity as Oliver Queen, kind of buy into the casino, or rather invest in the casino that Constantine is building. The whole point is to hit him where it hurts, his money, like, take out some of his power that way, kind of leave him a little kind of off balance and stuff like that. Sadly, didn't work out, ended up getting captured. We ended up seeing that one dude kind of getting his neck snapped. Interestingly enough, Constantine is played by Dolph Lundgren. I saw his name at the beginning. I was like, oh, that's cool. He's going to be in this episode. I was like, I'm wondering what shape or form is he going to be in the episode. Then episode went by. I completely forgot until like the last, 5 minutes of the episode. When he pops up, I was like, right, you're in this episode. I was like, of course you're going to play Constantine. And so, it's kind of interesting, like the fact is he's leaving Oliver alone and kind of purely intact. Now, obviously, because the guy was there with Oliver, he knows that they're Bratva and whatnot. So, and he's kind of already declared war on him and everything. He killed the other dude, but then I was like, why would he keep Oliver alive? And then I was like, oh, there's your answer. He's Oliver Queen. It's like he can use him from leverage. Because I'm not sure about the Bratva. Like, they are a brotherhood. Now, I don't think they're kind of willing to risk and sacrifice anything for another brother. It's like if a brother ends up getting captured and everything, like, you'll be sad, and it's like, but they have to die. It's like, the bigger picture is what matters. So I don't think it's going to be for Bratva reasons. Maybe I'll be surprised and find out next episode that is kind of the reason why he's keeping him around, because of Bratva reasons. Or is it because, he wants to kind of use him, his name in other means. It's kind of like, taking Oliver Queen hostage, can merit a lot of advantages for a criminal. I mean, he has been missing for all this time. It does make you wonder, like, because the thing is, I'm thinking is like, how did he know? Now, you can look at it one or two ways. Either one, Constantine's actually a very smart criminal and he knows what he's doing, that he has eyes and ears everywhere, so he sniffed this out. Two, the fact is that there's a traitor amongst the Bratva. My money's on Victor, especially because it being Oliver involved in this whole situation. I mean, Victor already wants him dead, but the thing is, even with his problems with Oliver, would Victor actually turn against the Bratva for that? I mean, granted, probably he already planned on turning against the Bratva, and just Oliver was just kind of icing on the cake. So, I mean, we'll see. But it's just, to me, my mind immediately goes like, it's obviously got to be a traitor amongst the Bratva for that situation to happen. And speaking of the Bratva and everything, I was actually surprised Susan didn't use what she found out last episode about, got that picture of Oliver and the Bratva. Now, that's another thing that can be interpreted in many ways. Either she is trying to give, because they brought it up in this episode, it's like that month that she was going like, I'm not going to air any attacks against Oliver. The fact of the matter is, I promise I give you that month, so I'm going to give you that month, to try to do your best and kind of impress me and whatnot. So either she's trying to wait till then, and it's like, hey, kind of build up her case, try to find out more about that picture, verify it and everything. Well, it was already verified and everything, but kind of see if she can find anything else, and then blast them in this month period. Or, maybe it's to stock it up until the month period is over and then hit them with it. Or I think I threw this out last episode of being like, hey, possibly it's kind of keep everything on the down low, get closer to Oliver, because it is like she's flirting with him and everything, even telling her to call for him to call her. What you have Thea and Lance and Felicity, kind of like, oh yeah, your girlfriend, huh? It's like, should you really be all flirty with her and everything? She can destroy you when it comes down to it, like if she wanted to. But it could be get closer to him so she can, like, find some more evidence, find some more stuff that she could use to build against him. And whether she waits for the entire month period or whether she takes this opportunity to get closer to him just to kind of blast him, we'll just have to wait and see. But I was actually surprised she didn't break the news then and there, especially because she had that interview and everything. And multiple times throughout the episode, you see her on the news about the throwing star killers, what they're calling Prometheus and everything, which is like, how did she get that information? It was like, well, she's a reporter and everything. She probably has sources within different departments, whether it's the police and whatnot. But it's like, how did you get that information? Which I'll go ahead and talk about. The fact is, it kind of actually makes sense now, because at basically the end of the episode, it's like, we ended up finding, for one, you end up, interesting, I just had to get to it first, is the fact of the matter is, the throwing stars that Prometheus has been using are actually made from the arrows that Oliver has been using for the past 4 years since he came back to Starling City. I was like, that's Star City. Correcting myself, sorry, but that's a lot. I was like, dude, that's insane. I love that that's the case. It's like, but the fact is, all those arrows are locked up in evidence. So like, the only way that could be is if essentially he has access to the evidence, which, at the end of the episode, we see Lance has a wound on his arm, plus he has a throwing star on the desk, and it's like, oh, so we're trying to imply that it's Lance. It's like, but is Lance really that skilled? I mean, especially because the whole situation of Thea kind of trying to make him go through AA because he's kind of getting drunk and everything. Well, not just getting drunk. He's been drunk. He's been drinking this entire time. He never stopped when he kind of promised that he was going to. I mean, truth be told, he doesn't want help. It's like, you can't help someone who doesn't want to help, but she's still going to try her best to. Now, my brain, now I'm bringing this up because I'm thinking like, I don't, whether Lance is actually Prometheus, I don't think so. I think the point is, he's in a state where the real Prometheus is like, well, I can just frame you. I can make you think you're Prometheus, or I can leave evidence around to make other people think you're Prometheus. Like, I don't know. That's kind of the whole point. I mean, who's to say? There might have been something that happened to Lance in that time between him and Donna leaving last season, that something happened to him before he came back to town. I don't know. I mean, he is the one that knows the most about Oliver, so it would make sense. But I feel like, obviously, there's a lot more to it than that. But I was saying, like, maybe that's how she got her information from the real Prometheus, letting stuff slip like that. It's like, because it's like, I don't know. Like I said, I feel like that could be a possibility. Like I said, it could just easily that she has a source on the police, in the police department or stuff like that, or, somewhere in between there, with the evidence and everything that she can like get that information from. So there's that. Also, my mind goes to Billy, because it's like, well, just because. Actually, Felicity telling him the truth of like, oh, I work with Oliver. I mean, not Oliver. I work with the Green Arrow, which he took it surprisingly well. At first, it was just like, oh man, the way he was getting started, I was like, oh man, this is going to turn the whole thing. He's going to make you choose between him and the Green Arrow. But he's like, that's actually good. And she's like, wait, what? He's like, yeah. She's like, you're taking this awfully well. He's like, well, yeah, you're saving the city. It's a good thing. He's like, oh, asking all these questions. Oh, where is he? Where does he go? Does he have a house? Does he actually have a scarred up face? The reason why he's wearing a mask and everything, which Felicity told him to kind of basically shut up and just made out with everything. So it's like, it's good in that department. But what I'm very interested to know is like, was that kind of a ploy? The reason why you're so okay with it, because you're like, hey, I'm Prometheus. Now I have another in. I don't know, because it's like, I guess that's kind of the point, because it's like, Billy's kind of new to town. Like, we didn't really get, I mean, has Billy popped up in other stuff like seasons before? Like, he's new to this whole situation, isn't he? He's new to Star City. I mean, maybe he's actually a background cop, like story wise, like, oh, Billy's been here for a while, it's just you've never seen him until now type of thing, or something. Or maybe he has popped up before and I'm just being an idiot. What happened to that guy who was kind of Lance's boss? We haven't seen him in a while. Did he retire or something like that? He hasn't popped up this season so far, has he? I don't think he has. Nevertheless, there's him. There's that new DA. I definitely don't trust that new DA, just because it's like, especially because him and Oliver have a past too, because he's like brought up the whole like girlfriend thing. I don't know, like, plus that time he said something, he's just kind of like, he said that same thing Oliver said in the broth. I kind of brought that up before. It's like, I still don't trust him, but it's like, I don't know. Because I kept wondering too, like, just kind of actor thing and everything. I was wondering what I know that actor from. I think I know him from the show Sirens. He was kind of like the, oh God. It's been a while since I've seen Siren, so it's like I don't remember characters' names and everything. He was kind of the new Michael. Was it Michael Mosley? Is that the one of the main actors' names? His on and off girlfriend, her new police partner, was kind of a handsome dude. Is that him? I think that is him. I could be wrong. It's not the point. I just kind of throwing that out there. It's like it doesn't really mean much because I don't remember anyone's names and stuff like that. It's worthless. Never mind. But it's like definitely now that Oliver and Felicity kind of figured out, it's like, oh, obviously Prometheus has some kind of connection to the police or whatever. So it's like, dude, like there's our three main suspects: Billy, Lance, or the new DA guy. I was like, my money out of anybody, maybe the new DA guy, possibly Billy. I really think, Lance is just a red herring because for one, it's too obvious. But like I say, it's going to be interesting to see how they kind of keep pointing the finger towards him and everything. And like I said, I get the point. I get the feeling like eventually it's going to get to the point even he starts doubting himself and everything. So, very interested to see where that goes. See where the team goes. It's like I said, out of anyone, like Evelyn/Artemis had the biggest problem with the whole like, oh, you're a serial killer thing. The rest of the team did too, but she definitely had the biggest problem. So I'm very interested to see will that kind of like continue on in the future, or will they just simply realize like, hey, Oliver's changed. I mean, it seems like everything is good because like, he invited them to that concert and everything at the end of the episode. It seemed like everyone's good and everything. And interestingly enough, Wild Dog is still hitting on Thea. That's interesting. I'm interested to see where that goes. I mean, obviously he got shot down hard, and I love once again Curtis being Curtis, but like, oh, don't worry, man, nobody shot, no one saw that. Ooh, it's funny because we all saw him get shot down super hard. Okay, so just very curious to see where this goes. I'm very interested in Prometheus just because it seems like very interesting adversary. Just like finding out why, all this for solely going after Oliver/Green Arrow for what purpose? Is it connected to Oliver's past or what? Like in the sense of like stuff connected to the Bratva back in Russia, or is this just something that's been a long time coming in the works? We just have to wait to see. But really, that's all I want to talk about in this episode. So the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.